Hi, my name is Colleen Resendes, and I work here at Montione's Bakery, and I'm going to be making Italian bread today. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to start off making the biga. Biga is just a pre-ferment that we let it sit overnight, and it adds a lot of flavor to the dough the next day, so you get that good, nice tasty flavor in the bread, and So I'm going to mix the water with the flour, and I have yeast in here as well. And I just do this with my hand. You can use a mixer if you want to, but it's pretty simple just to do it with your hand, so you don't have to dirty up all those attachments and whatnot. So once you get it all mixed up, it's going to be a really rough dough. You don't need to make this smooth or elasticy at all. It's just going to be nice and wet, just like that, and that's the biga. Once the biga has sat overnight, we are going to, it looks something like that. It's nice and bubbly, and you'll smell a nice fermented flavor. So let's see. Now we're going to put it on your mixer, and we're going to add our salt, and then we're also going to add our yeast. I'm going to put that in there, and let's see. We're going to add our flour. And then we're going to add the water. Okay. And you're going to let that mix for a little bit, just so, it could come together before you turn it on a higher speed, just because you don't want your flour to go all over your jacket. That's bad news. So once it gets to about there, I'm just going to scrape down the sides of the bowl so all your flour gets into the center. All right. And now that I feel a little bit more comfortable how it's mixed up, so I'm going to turn up the speed a little bit. Now it's come to a nice forming dough ball. I'm going to let that go for about 7 to 8 minutes, and so it can form some gluten. As it's been mixing, I've been adding a little bit more flour because you want it to come together. If it seems a little bit too wet, that's an easy fix. You can just add more. So now that it's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the mixer, and you see how nice and wet it is? That's what you want. So you don't want it too tough, because once you do your turns, you don't want the bread to be too dry afterwards. So what I do is I just scrape it out into a sprayed or oiled bowl, and it looks something like that. It can be nice and rough. You're going to fix the edges later on. I take a moistened towel, and I put it over the bowl, and I let that rise for an hour. So our dough has been sitting for an hour, and I'm going to do what is called turning. Now this is very important to absorb some of that moisture, because you saw how wet it was before. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out a little bit of flour, make a mess, because what bread is, it's messy. So I'm going to roll out the dough from the sprayed bowl onto my floured surface. And it's going to be nice and fluffy at this point once it's been sitting for a while. And I'm going to dust the top of this with a little bit more flour. And pretty much all we're doing is folding. So we're going to take the left side and the right side and fold them in and kind of degas it a little bit, get some of those bubbles out. And we're going to just take the top, fold it into the center, and take the top again and fold it down to the bottom. It's going to look something like that. It's going to still have a few little bubbles. And you can just take it and put it right back into your bowl. Going to let that rise for another hour. So once you let this rise for another hour, what you're going to want to do is you're going to do the same process again, turning it, and then you're going to let it sit for another hour. And at that point in time, you can shape your loaves. After we've turned it a second time, we have this nice pillowy looking dough that you see here. So what we're going to do, we're going to shape at this point in time, and just do what you were doing before. Throw down lots of flour so it doesn't stick to your surface. And I just take the dough and I fold it out on the surface. See how much more pillowy it is than it was before? So what you're going to do is you're going to dust it down with a little bit of flour. And you can eyeball the loaves. I mean, they're it's approximately about a 1 pound loaf, but you can just, I usually just cut it with a bench cutter, but if you want to use a knife, that's fine. So sometimes you get 3 loaves, sometimes you get 4. Depends on how the dough wants to rise. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just degassing it a little bit, just trying to get some of the bubbles out. And so I'm going to shape it now. I'm going to move those out of the way so I can show you what I'm doing. And it's very simple actually. So you just take the bottom and use your fingers and roll them up to the top, just like that. And what you're going to do with your fingers is you're going to pull back on the top of the bread, just like that. And this is just to make sure your seam is closed so your bread doesn't open it up when it's shaped, when it's proofing. And you're going to push away with your thumbs, just like that, and you have a loaf. And then you're going to put it on your sheet pan. If you have any sort of loaf pan, you can use those too. It's up to you. So I'm just going to work real fast and show you what I'm doing here. So just pull back and push away. And that's pretty much it to those. Ooh, and you can make round ones if you want to. That's just as simple. So you're just going to fold under just like that with your hand. And then take your hands and just make big round motions. And then you have a little bowl. And I'll do the same thing with this last one too. Just make little bowls for you. So you can see how I'm doing it. All right. And that's pretty much it. So once these proof, we'll let these sit for another hour so they could get nice and fluffy. And then we'll come back and we'll slash and bake them off. Once we have shaped the loaves and we let them sit for an hour, they'll look something like this, and they'll be nice and fluffy, as you can see. And if they're touching a little bit, that's okay. They're movable. You can just pick it up and put it off to the side. That's fine. All right. So what you're going to want to do is that you can use a spray bottle for this as well, but I like to just use a pastry brush and a little pitcher of water, just because I think that the water gets more evenly distributed. So all I'm doing is I'm just really wetting down these loaves, something like that, and you get them nice and wet. Now this is important because when you put it in the oven, that water is going to start to steam, and it's going to create a really nice crust color on your bread. So that's how you keep it from looking a little ashy, I guess I would say. So do something like that. And you can choose to put flour on the top of it if you want to. Sometimes I like to do that just for a little bit of decoration. Now, when you slash it, I like to use a razor. You can get these at Home Depot. They're pretty inexpensive, so I mean I can get like a whole bunch of them, pack of 10 or something like that. But you can use a knife if you wanted to. So when I slash them, all I do is I just take the razor and make whatever design you want. Slashes are important so the steam can escape from the bread, so your bread doesn't blow up in your oven. So I'm just going to do that. Anything you want to do, you can do one right down the center if you want. So I can show you different ones with these round ones over here. I do a nice box-shaped sort of thing, just like that. And this one we'll just slash right down the center. That's fine. That works. And then if you see any dry spots, just put some more water on it. And once you've slashed them, you can put them in a 450-degree oven, and bake them for about 30 to 40 minutes. After they're done baking, this is what they're going to look like with your pretty slashes and whatnot. So this one's a round one, and this is the oval one that I did. So what I'm going to do is just going to cut it open so you can see what it looks like on the inside. It's nice and soft, but crusty on the outside, which is a good mark of a nice artisan bread, I like to think. And you'll see the holes in the bread, just like that, and that's what it should look like when it's done baking. And that's the Italian bread.